Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
Hello everyone, welcome to Inside Delhi. In this session, we are going to have a discussion on the test paper comprising the subject environment and ecology. This test is part of the GS Prism test series. So, environment and ecology. This test paper comprised 80 questions 80 questions from environment and ecology and 20 questions from current affairs. Total 100 questions. These 80 questions are very basic level questions which we call foundation builder test, and these 20 questions of current affairs relate to the current period or the dates which have been provided in your detailed schedule. So in this session we will be discussing all the 100 questions one by one, and we will also be identifying the core areas, core topics. We will also be identifying the key terms which are very much important from UPSC perspective, and we will also be learning how to handle a particular type of question and how to be very much conscious, very much aware while reading a statement. So let's start. So this is the first question. This first question is about definition of environment, ecology and ecosystem. Environment, ecology and ecosystem. Three terms. Very important terms: environment, ecology and ecosystem. The three statements are given, and these statements are asking you to identify which of these are the correct. So what is ecology? Ecology is a science that studies interactions between organisms and their environment. Very much true. Ecology is the science, ecology is the subject, ecology is the study of the interactions between different organisms. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 says that environment refers only to the abiotic factors. Environment does not refer only to the abiotic factors. There are two kinds of components in environment. One is biotic, other one is abiotic. So both are included, biotic and abiotic. Biotic means which has life, abiotic means which does not have life. So environment includes both biotic and abiotic, but it is saying only abiotic. That makes this statement wrong. Then we have the third statement about ecosystem, includes both living organisms and their interactions. Very important term is interaction here. To define ecosystem, interaction has to be there. Interactions between different organisms, different species, and also interactions between a particular species with its outside environment. So this is the correct statement. Ecosystem is about interactions. So 1 and 3 are correct. So only 2 statements are correct. Option B will be your correct answer. Then we have another question. This is again on ecosystem. All ecosystems are self-regulating. All ecosystems are natural and self-regulating? No, this is not always true. There can be ecosystems which are man-made. It is not necessary that all the ecosystems are natural. There can be man-made ecosystems. For example, even if you are making a pond in your home, in your lawn area, that also becomes an ecosystem, and that is an ecosystem made by you. So ecosystems are not necessarily always natural. So first statement is not correct. Energy flow is always unidirectional and nutrient cycling is a circular process. The purpose of this question is to introduce two very good terms to you. The first term is energy flow. What is energy flow? Second term is nutrient cycling. How nutrients are getting consumed, how nutrients are getting produced, then they are getting consumed, then they are again getting produced. So it is a circular process. Production, consumption, destruction, then again production, consumption, destruction. So this way, nutrient cycling is a circular process. Energy flow is always unidirectional. Plants, autotrophs, creating food. Herbivores are consuming that plant. Then carnivores are consuming the herbivores. So energy is getting transmitted in a unidirectional way from plants to carnivores to herbivores, from plants to herbivores to carnivores. So it is unidirectional. The term here is unidirectional. So this makes this statement correct. A desert, a pond and a crop field can all be considered ecosystem. Yes, why not? What is ecosystem? Ecosystem is a scenario, a place where different kinds of species are interacting with each other. So that interaction, so in pond there are interactions among different species. For example, in a pond there will be a small fish, there will be bigger fish, there will be different kinds of insects, there will be reptiles as well, there will be small plants, and all these will be interacting with each other. Big fish will be eating a small fish, reptiles will be eating a small insects. So these interactions will be happening. So desert, pond, crop field, these all are considered ecosystem. So 2 and 3 are correct. 2 and 3 are correct. Option B will be your correct answer. The third question is again about the components of an ecosystem. The key term here is components of an ecosystem. UPSC may give you different questions regarding components of ecosystem. So the purpose of this test series or this test paper is also to let you learn what are the different key terms in a particular paper, particular subject. So components of ecosystem. Decomposers break down complex organic matter into inorganic substances and help recycle nutrients. Yes, decomposers actually do this. So this is the basic definition of decomposers. Abiotic components of an ecosystem include soil, temperature and herbivores. Here it is written herbivores and here it is saying abiotic. Abiotic means which does not have life, but herbivores do have life. So herbivores are part of biotic. So if you read this statement, in the first go you will feel that this statement is correct. But the problem is you should not go with assumptions. You should always read the statement completely and then you decide. When we read this statement when we come to the end, we understand that this statement is actually not correct. Because here it is written herbivores. Herbivores are not part of abiotic components. So statement 2 is not correct. Producers in a terrestrial ecosystem primarily belong to autotrophic category. Yes, producers, autotrophic, these are again very basic terms. For example, take the example of plants. Plants are autotrophs. They produce their own food by means of photosynthesis. And that energy is getting transmitted to other levels. So this statement is correct. 1 and 3 are correct. Question is asking correct statements. Option C, 1 and 3 will be your answer. This next question is regarding certain ecosystems. Okay, so in this statement 3 or 4 different type of ecosystems are given, four statements, and the question is asking to identify ecosystems that act as ecotones. Okay, the question is about ecotones. What are the ecotones? So ecotones are actually transitional zones. Ecotones are transitional zones between two different communities, two different ecosystems. For example, consider there is a grassland. So grasslands are different. Here it is a dense forest and here it is plain areas. So grasslands will be considered an ecotone between dense forest and plain areas. So this is the basic definition of ecotone, that it is a transitional zone between two different kind of ecosystems. This question is saying that ecotones, identify the ecotones which are shaped by aquatic and terrestrial influences. ऐसे इकोटोन्स को आइडेंटिफाई करना है विच आर शेप्ड बाय एक्वेटिक मीन्स वाटर फोर्स से और टेरेस्ट्रियल मीन्स अर्थ बेस्ड. सो द 4 statements are given over here and question is asking you to identify the ecotones which are shaped by aquatic and terrestrial influences. So let's see. First statement is about mangrove. Mangrove is ecosystem located in coastal zones supporting both aquatic and land based. So the statement itself is saying that yes, mangrove is supported by aquatic as well as land-based biodiversity. So statement 1 is correct. This is also the correct definition of mangroves. Second statement is about coral reef. Occur exclusively in saline marine. So it is saying exclusively in saline marine waters and are largely independent of terrestrial influences. It is saying largely independent means it is not totally dependent on terrestrial, largely independent. So this is the actually correct definition of coral reef, but it is not meeting the demand of the question, which is asking about ecotones with simultaneous influence of land-based and water-based ecosystems. So that makes statement 2 not correct in the context of the question. Third statement is about estuarine ecosystem, transitional zone where fresh water meets salt water. So again, this is also estuarine is like you can say semi-closed kind of water body near coastal areas where fresh water and salt water both mix up. So estuarine is an ecotone kind of example that is being shaped by aquatic and terrestrial both. Fourth statement is about tropical rainforest. So tropical rainforests are primarily influenced by terrestrial climatic conditions. So this statement is correct that tropical rainforests are influenced by terrestrial conditions, but tropical rainforest cannot be considered an ecotone which is shaped by aquatic and terrestrial both. So though the statement is correct, in the context of the question, demand of the question, this statement is not correct. So only two, no? Only 1 and 3, only 2 statements are correct. Option B will be your correct answer. Then we have question number 5. Question number 5 is about man-made ecosystems. Man-made ecosystems. What are man-made ecosystems? A cropland maintained by regular irrigation and fertilizer use in an example of self-regulating ecosystem. What is the meaning of self-regulating? This way you should identify the key terms in the statements, because unless and until each and every key term you are focusing, each and every key term you are understanding, you won't be able to identify whether the statement is right or wrong. So what are self-regulating ecosystems? Self-regulating ecosystems are those where the organisms or species in that ecosystem work independently without any outside influence. But in man-made ecosystem, for example, it is saying cropland, irrigation regular time pay, fertilizer, it is being provided by the human intervention. So it is not at all a self-regulating ecosystem because human intervention is included. So statement 1 is not correct. Natural ecosystems are always more biodiverse. It may appear to you that this statement will appear to you as a correct, that natural ecosystems are always more biodiverse, but this is not correct. Several instances, several ecosystems are there where natural ecosystems are not as biodiverse as man-made one. For example, consider desert, and second one consider botanical garden. So desert is a natural ecosystem, botanical garden is a man-made ecosystem. But botanical garden has more biodiversity than desert ecosystem. So this statement is not correct because on several occasions you will find that man-made ecosystems are more biodiverse than natural ecosystems. So both these statements are not correct. Option D will be the correct answer. This question is regarding ecological organization. One more term is being introduced, ecological organization. So a population, this statement is giving you two very good terms, population and community. What is called a population and what is called a community? What is the difference between population and community? Population is a kind of number of individuals of a particular species. For example, take elephant. Suppose in a forest there are 100 elephants. So the total count of elephants is 100. That is called elephant population is 100. So only one species is being counted over here, that is elephant, and the count is 100 and it is called the population of elephant. If we include different species, that is not population. So population includes all organisms of different species. it is saying different species, so this is an incorrect definition of population. Population means one species ke all individuals. If we are including different species, that will call a community. So community includes interacting populations of different species within a defined area. Community is population of different species interacting with each other, that is called community. Statement 2 is correct. So are correct, only second statement is correct. Then we have this statement, two species can occupy the same niche. What is the meaning of niche? One more term is being introduced over here. What is the meaning of niche? Niche is the functional place of an species, of an organism. So ecosystem is defined, ecosystem is about species interacting with each other, and niche is like the functional role of a particular species. What that particular species is doing, what that particular species is eating, what is the shelter of that particular species. So these are all defined by the term niche. So when we say two species can occupy the same niche in the same ecosystem indefinitely, food is abundant. This statement may appear to you to be as a true, because it is saying that indefinitely if food is abundant, you may feel that food is the primary requirement. अगर food ही abundant रूप से available है तो that the two species will continue. But no, only food is not the determinant. There will be other determining factors. For example, predators. Two different species will be having two different kind of predators. There will be also be food habits, different kind of food habits may be there. So only food is not determinant, there are other determinants as well. So this makes this statement not correct. While habitat describes where an organism lives, its niche describes how it lives within that environment. Very perfect, master, very excellent definition of the term niche. So second statement is correct, but first statement is not correct. So option D will be the correct answer. Moving to the next question. This question is about ecotone again. We just found the definition of ecotone. Ecotone is the zone where two communities meet and integrate. Ecotone is the zone where two communities meet and integrate. Yes, ecotone is the transitional zone where two communities meet and integrate. Statement 1 is correct. A grassland is an ecotone between marine and terrestrial. No. Grassland is not an ecotone between marine and terrestrial. Grassland is a ecotone, terrestrial based, earth based ecotone. So statement 2 is not correct. It has far greater productivity than an individual natural ecosystem. Yes, correct. Ecotone has far more productivity. Changes in population or community structures is observed in this region. Yes. So in this question you will find that first statement is giving the definition of ecotone, and the third and fourth statements are actually giving the features, characteristics of ecotones. So this can also be appear to be a sample, you can say, notes for you if you are studying about ecotone. First statement is definition, third and fourth are the characteristics of ecotones. So how many of these statements are correct? Only 3 are correct. Moving to the next question. Camouflage in animals and waxy leaves in desert plants are example of a structural adaptation. So this another term is being introduced over here is adaptation. Adaptation, literal meaning क्या हो सकता है adaptation का English word? When we are living somewhere, we are adapting ourselves to our environment, we are getting used to it, that is called adaptation. So species, different organisms, they also adapt to their environment, changing environment. Temperature अगर बढ़ रहा है तो the species, the newborn species, their progeny, they start adapting themselves to the changing environment. So camouflage is like changing of the body color to avoid, for example, to avoid predators. Very often seen in the chameleons. आपने गिरगिट में कहते भी हम लोग गिरगिट का रंग बदलना. So that is actually derived, that is actually inspired from the term camouflage. Waxy leaves in desert plants. डिजर्ट प्लांट्स में कांटेदार पत्तियां होती हैं टू अवॉइड वाटर लॉस. So statement 1 is correct. These are examples of structural adaptations. So adaptation can be of three types. First is structural. Structural मतलब उसके overall structure में change आ गया. Second could be behavioral. Behavior में changes, that is called behavioral adaptation. Third is physiological. फिजियोलॉजिकल अडेप्टेशन मीन्स इंटरनल बॉडी में कुछ ऐसे चेंजेस आए हैं बॉडी के अंदर लेवल पे, दैट इज कॉल्ड फिजियोलॉजिकल अडेप्टेशन. सो कैमोफ्लेज इन एनिमल्स एंड वैक्सी लीव्स इन डेजर्ट प्लांट्स आर एग्जांपल्स ऑफ स्ट्रक्चरल अडेप्टेशन. स्टेटमेंट 1 इज करेक्ट. Adaptation is a long-term evolutionary process through which an organism becomes better suited to its environment. Second statement is also correct. Second statement is actually the definition of adaptation. Adaptation का definition है ये. This is an example. This is being inferred. And second statement is actually explaining the first statement. So the answer will be option A. Both statements are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. Then we have this question regarding speciation. Another important term, speciation. So with the time, different kinds of species evolve. So that is called speciation. Refers to the formation of new and distinct species from a common ancestral species. Very good, very simple definition of speciation. यही speciation का definition है. न्यू एंड डिस्टिंक्ट स्पीशीज का अगर इवोल्यूशन हो रहा है कहीं पे, न्यू एंड डिस्टिंक्ट स्पीशीज आर गेटिंग इवॉल्व्ड फ्रॉम अ कॉमन एंसेस्ट्रल स्पीशीज बिकॉज ऑफ वेरियस रीजंस, दैट इज कॉल्ड स्पेशिएशन. Geographic isolation can lead to speciation by preventing interbreeding between population. Very much true. स्पेशिएशन ज्योग्राफिकल आइसोलेशन की वजह से हो सकता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कंसिडर अ फॉरेस्ट एरिया एंड दैट फॉरेस्ट एरिया इज अ हैबिटेट ऑफ एलिफेंट फॉर एग्जाम्पल. सो suppose with the time or due to some catastrophic event that forest gets flooded. अब वहां पे फ्लड आ गया and the flood separates or divides the forest in two different distinct areas, and because of this the population of elephants also get divided. So geographical difference, geographical distinction आ गया वहां पे, and both the two parts of the elephant population, two segments of the elephant population will start evolving themselves without any interaction. So geographic isolation can lead to speciation. Statement 2 is correct. Allopatric speciation, एक term आया यहाँ पे allopatric. So speciation are basically of two kinds. One is allopatric, second one is sympatric. So when we say allopatric speciation is because of some geographical factors. अगर किसी geographical reason की वजह से अगर speciation आ रहा है, isolation हो रहा है, and the species are evolving themselves because of some geographical factor, that will be called allopatric. Sympatric is a kind of speciation when the geography is not involved. Because of some other reasons other than geographical isolation, if species are evolving by themselves, that is called sympatric speciation. Third statement saying allopatric speciation occurs without any physical barriers. No. Here it is saying without. अगर without करना है geographic separation के, then it should be here sympatric. But here it is saying allopatric, so allopatric should be with physical barriers or geographic separation. So statement 3 is not correct. So only two statements, 1 and 2 are correct. Then we have this statement, this question regarding ecological succession. Ecological succession. Serial stages involve sequential communities that gradually modify the environment, paving the way for more complex life forms. Very much true. Serial stages क्या होते हैं? The transitional stages. कैसे how communities, how organism, how species are evolving with the time. For example, in a particular area, suppose there is a barren land. कोई जमीन है यहाँ पे barren है, there is nothing over there. Suppose it starts with lichens or mosses. थोड़ी थोड़े लाइकेंस आने शुरू हुए, देन इंसेक्ट्स आने शुरू हुए, देन मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स प्लांट फॉर्म्स स्टार्ट ग्रोइंग ओवर देयर. सो दिस ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम लाइकेंस टू प्लांट्स, this is called ecological succession. Succession हुआ from less complex to more complex species, that is called ecological succession. और ये जो these the each and every stage, these are called the transitional phases, these transitional stages are called serial stages. So this is a very good definition of serial stages, which is the statement 1, which is correct. In primary succession, so succession are of two types, different categories. So succession first is primary, then middle, and then climax. So primary to climax, primary to climax level of ecological succession will happen in different serial stages, right? But primary succession, it is saying that in primary succession soil formation occurs after the climax stage. No, primary succession happens first, climax succession happens in the end. So statement 2 is not correct. So only 1 is the correct answer. Next question is about, again, one more question regarding ecological succession. The rate of growth in a pioneer community. Pioneer community means the community which is colonizing a particular area for the first time. Means the primary succession का part है pioneer community. For example, just we saw the lichens. So lichens will be called primary community. Is slower compared to that in a climax community. Climax community is the end community. अभी हमने जो एग्जाम्पल देखा, लाइकेंस, इन दैट एग्जाम्पल लाइकेंस विल बी पायनियर कम्युनिटी एंड द मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स प्लांट्स विल फॉर्म द पार्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेक्स कम्युनिटी. सो द रेट ऑफ ग्रोथ इन पायनियर कम्युनिटी इज स्लोअर कंपेयर टू दैट इन क्लाइमेक्स कम्युनिटी. नो, it is talking about rate of growth. Read each and every statement very carefully. Read each and every term in a statement very carefully. First statement is about rate of growth among pioneer community and climax community. जब rate of growth की बात होगी तो pioneer community का rate of growth will always greater than climax community. Pioneer community का rate of growth will be greater than climax community. Second statement is talking about species diversity in pioneer community and climax community. Pioneer community का species diversity will be lower than climax community because pioneer community में क्या ही diversity रही, only lichens were there. But when it is climax community, there will be different kinds of plants. So the diversity of the climax community will be more than the pioneer community. So statement 2 is also not correct. So the correct statements will be neither 1 nor 2. Then we have this question regarding food chains and energy flow. Food chain and energy flow. What is food chain? Food chain in crude terms you can say that it is a geographical representation. कैसे energy flow हो रहा है from plants to higher species, higher organisms. So कैसे energy, the transition of energy, उसका जो geographical representation है, that is called food chain. तो food chain and energy flow in ecosystems. A shorter food chain results in greater energy availability at the highest trophic level. Yes, food chain जितना ही छोटा होगा, the shorter the food chain, greater will be the energy availability at the higher trophic level. Trophic level, एक term आया यहाँ पे trophic level. What is trophic level? Food chain में there are different trophic levels. For example, consider this is a geographical representation. So in the lower trophic level, suppose there are autotrophs, plants creating the food. Second trophic level, there will be herbivores, organisms which are feeding on plants. The third trophic level will be or the carnivores. For example, tigers which are feeding on the herbivores. So this is a food chain. The upper one is dependent on lower one. So shorter food chain will result in greater energy availability. Statement 1 is correct. The top carnivore in a food chain always receives the maximum amount. No. Top carnivore always receives least amount of energy accumulated. least amount of energy accumulated. So a statement only one is correct. Estuarine ecosystem, we just learnt about estuarine ecosystem, a kind of closed water body near coastal areas where fresh water mixes with the saline water. Estuaries generally lack any significant source of fresh water inflow. Generally lack. It is saying generally lack. No, it is not true. So it is that generally there is a mix up of fresh water. So statement 1 is not correct. Then we have estuarine regions are subject to the influence of both high and low tides. Correct. Estuaries are considered to be among the most biological productive environments. This is also correct. 2 and 3 are correct. Option B will be your correct answer. Food webs. We just a while ago we learnt about food chain. And here it is coming food web. What is the difference between food web and food chain? Food chain comprises several food webs. So food chain is a simple one, geographic representation. But when several food chains are mixed up, several food chains are combined, that forms food web. So food web is a much more complex stuff than food chain. So food webs enhance ecosystem stability by promoting alternative pathways for energy flow. Yes, ecosystem stability enhance होती है. A species occupying multiple trophic levels in a food web increases the system's complexity but reduces its resilience. Food web में it is saying here reduces resilience and here it is saying species multiple trophic levels. अगर एक organism is occupying multiple trophic levels, then it will enhance its resilience, not reduce its resilience, because that species will not be dependent on only one other species. So statement 2 is not correct. In a complex food web, the extinction of one species is less likely to cause ecosystem collapse. Yes, अगर एक का extinction हो भी जाए, so it is less likely to lead to ecosystem collapse. So 3 is correct. 1 and 3 are correct. Fourth statement is all organisms in a food web occupy only one. No. So if you read this question, so you will find that 1 or 2 statements can easily be eliminated. So here it is saying only one fixed trophic level को occupy करते हैं. So this statement is not correct. Only 1 and 3, option B is the correct answer. Then we have another next question regarding ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids, the pyramid of energy is always upright. Pyramid of energy. So ecological pyramid की जब बात करते हैं तो there are different kinds of pyramids. First one is related to energy. Second one is related to number. Third one is related to biomass. Energy, number, biomass. So pyramid of energy is always upright regardless of the ecosystem type. Yes, pyramid of energy is always upright because it shows the flow of energy. And a while ago we learned that the flow of energy is always unidirectional. So it will always be upright. Upright matlab always be this way. Energy flow going this way. This is upright. In a pond ecosystem, the pyramid of biomass is generally upright due to high biomass of phytoplankton. Okay. So 4 statements are given regarding different of pyramids. First estimate of pyramid of energy. Second one is regarding pyramid of biomass. Third one is regarding pyramid of numbers. Fourth one is regarding pyramid of biomass. So and the pyramids are of, these are the 3 kinds of pyramids: energy, number and biomass. And the pyramid, and these can be like upright or inverted. This one is upright, inverted will be this one. So different kinds of ecosystems have different kinds of pyramids. So this statement is talking about which statements are correct. So statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, in a pond ecosystem, the pyramid of biomass is generally upright. It is saying generally upright. No. Pyramid of biomass need not be upright. It can be inverted as well. So statement 2 is not correct. The pyramid of numbers can be inverted even when energy flow remains unitary. Yes, pyramid of numbers can be inverted. मतलब quite possible कि the number of population of a particular species as the lower trophic level, lower level is less than the higher level. ऐसा quite possible है. तो इसलिए pyramid of number can be inverted. Statement 3 is correct. An inverted pyramid of biomass is more common in terrestrial ecosystem than in aquatic ones. This is not correct. Statement 4 is not correct. So only 1 and 3 are correct answer. This question is regarding interaction. So biotic interactions. 4 kinds of given: mutualism, commensalism, amensalism and predation. अब जब बात हो interactions की, biological interactions की, तो we should understand when two species are interacting with each other, so either one species will be getting benefited or the other one getting harmed, or the first one is getting benefited, other one is neutral, neither getting harmed nor getting benefited. So mutualism is when both the species are getting benefited. Mutualism में both species are getting benefited. Commensalism is when one species is getting benefited, the other species is neutral, neither getting harmed nor getting benefited. Amensalism is when one species is getting benefited and the other one is getting harmed. Predation is also when one is getting benefited, other one is getting harmed. So first is mutualism, bee pollinating a flower while feeding its nectar. Yes, so both bee and the plant flower, both are interacting with each other and both are getting benefited. So mutualism is the correct one is here. Commensalism, of remora fish attaching to a shark and feeding on its food scraps. So statement pair 2 is also correctly matched. Fungal species releasing toxins that inhibit nearby bacteria. So one is fungal species, the second one is bacteria, and the other one is getting benefited and the other one is getting harmed. So 3 is also correct. Predation, a cuckoo laying its eggs in the nest of a crow. This is not predation. Statement pair 4 is not correctly matched. Predation is like a tiger eating a rabbit. That is called predation. So predation is a cuckoo laying its egg in the nest of a crow is not predation. So statement pair 4 is not correctly matched, so only 3 are correctly matched. Then we have this question regarding bioaccumulation. What is bioaccumulation? So bioaccumulation, so two good terms over here to learn. Bioaccumulation refers to the buildup of a non-biodegradable substance in an organism over time. Buildup. Bioorganism is a buildup. Second statement, this statement is correct. Second statement is substances like DDT, a chemical, and mercury tend to magnify. Here it is saying magnify. Actually, this question is related to two terms. One is bioaccumulation. Second one is biomagnification. So bioaccumulation is the chemical is getting accumulated. Biomagnification is it is getting accumulated and it is getting magnified. Means it is getting accumulated in greater proportions. So this statement 2 is correct, but this statement is a definition of bioaccumulation, biomagnification, and statement 1 is talking about bioaccumulation. So both these statements are correct, but statement 2 is not the correct definition or correct explanation of statement 1. So option B will be your correct answer. Then we have a question regarding ecological efficiency. Determines how much energy is transferred from one trophic level to another. Yes, this statement is correct. Due to low ecological efficiency, energy pyramids are always upright. Yes, always upright. Energy pyramids will always be upright. So both the statements are correct. So option C will be your correct answer. A population of, okay, so this question is, okay, sympatric speciation. We just learned about two kinds of speciation, sympatric and allopatric. Here this question is regarding sympatric speciation. So 4 statements are given over here, and it is asking you to identify most likely to occur in sympatric. So sympatric, we just learned that in sympatric, geographical isolation, geographical factors are not involved. So wherever is geography is included in the statements, that will not be our answer. So population of fruit flies develops a preference for laying eggs on a new fruit species. So no geography involved. So this is a feature of sympatric. Group of deer becomes isolated on an island after a flood. Okay, so it is a geography involved. This is not sympatric, this is allopatric. A single species of fish in a lake diverges into two groups, one near surface, the other one at the bottom. No geography involved because both the two species are in the same geographical area. So this is an example of sympatric. A population of frogs is split into two by formation of a cannon. Cannon के formation हो गया means geography is involved. So this statement is not correct. This is for allopatric, not sympatric. So only 1 and 3 are correct. Only 1 and 3 are correct. Option A is the correct answer. Biogeochemical cycles. Earth receives no significant external input of nutrients. Yes. Whatever nutrients Earth has, that's it. No external nutrient is getting received by Earth. Then whatever nutrients it has, be it phosphorus, be it sulfur, be it carbon, whatever it has, it is getting recycled through, and that is studied under biogeochemical cycles. These comprise different carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle, nitrogen cycle. So yes, Earth receives no significant external input of nutrients, and thus these cycles are self-sustaining. In natural ecosystems, nutrients are permanently lost when organisms die and decay. No, not permanently lost. Even if an organism is dying and decaying, the nutrients are coming back to the ecosystem. So it is not permanently lost. So statement 2 is not correct. Question is asking about not correct statements. Okay, so option V will be the correct answer. This question is about carbon cycle. Photosynthesis by plants is a major process that removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Correct. Combustion leads to release of carbon dioxide. Correct. Volcanic eruptions also contribute to carbon cycle. All 3 are correct statements. So 1, 2, 3, option D will be the correct answer. Contribute to the phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus cycle ka contribution, which of these activities are? Weathering of rocks and mineral deposits. Yes, weathering of rocks contributes to phosphorus cycle. Excretion or decomposition of organisms. Yes, guano deposits of seabirds. Long-term accumulation in bone and teeth. See, bone and teeth do have phosphorus, that is true. But the statement phrased over here is long-term accumulation. So long-term accumulation means the phosphorus is not easily coming back into the phosphorus cycle. So this is not leading significantly, this is not contributing significantly to the phosphorus cycle. So 4th is not correct. Sedimentation in the deep sea, correct. So 1, 2, 3 and 5 will be the correct answer, option C. Tundra biome, different kinds of biome, tundra, taiga, tundra biome, features of tundra biome. So vegetation is largely treeless, very much true. Number of reptile and amphibian species is limited because of low temperature, tundra biome, cold areas. So both these statements are correct. Many animals possess thick cuticle, dense hair, because to avoid the harsh temperatures, cold temperatures. Animals possess thick cuticle, dense hair. Now, here it is, we just a while ago we studied about adaptations. So if in tundra biome certain animals are possessing thick cuticle or dense hair, Don't you think that this is also an example of adaptation? Obviously, yes. So the animals have adapted themselves to tundra biome. So this question is not an adaptation, but I am just demonstrating you that here also an example of adaptation is given. So statement 3 is also correct. In terms of tundra biome, all the three are correct. Option B will be your correct answer. Regarding energy flow, green plants are able to capture more than 50% of solar energy. No, not more than 50%. Hardly 1-2% of solar energy is getting captured by green plants. Statement 1 is not correct. The number of trophic levels in a food chain remains unaffected by the energy loss occurring at each successive level. Number of trophic levels remains unaffected. How it can remain unaffected? Okay, energy loss की वजह से how can trophic levels will remain unaffected? तो statement 2 is also not correct. So neither 1 nor 2, option D will be your correct answer. Homeostasis, very good term, homeostasis. It is also a kind of adaptation. Ecosystems with greater functional diversity are generally more capable of maintaining homeostasis. So this is homeostasis regarding ecosystem, not regarding organisms. So this is about homeostasis, ecosystem, not organisms. So ecosystems with greater functional diversity are generally more capable. Yes, very much true. Homeostasis implies that ecosystems can completely resist all types of. No, it is not that completely resist. Homeostasis is not about resistance. Homeostasis is about resilience. Homeostasis is about resilience, about adaptation. It is not about resistance. So statement 2 is not correct. Only one, option A will be the correct answer. Next question is regarding osmoregulation. Osmoregulation. Organisms inhabiting estuarine ecosystems are typically poor osmoregulators. No, they are actually good as osmoregulators. What is meant by osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is like how the species are getting used to the salty environment, salty scenarios, salty situations. So estuarine ecosystem related to marine. So organisms inhabiting estuarine ecosystems are typically good osmoregulators. So statement 1 is not correct. The capacity of osmoregulation is a critical factor determining an organism's ability to survive. Yes, osmoregulation capacity determines organism's survivability. So statement 2 is correct. Option B will be your correct answer. Adaptive mechanism of mangrove species. Mangrove species, 3 characteristics are given over here and the question is asking to identify कौन से adaptive mechanisms हैं. Mangroves. So 2 very good terms. Their leaves possess salt excreting glands. Correct. They reproduce through vivipary. Yes, this is also correct. Their roots penetrate deep into groundwater. No, they do not penetrate deep into groundwater. Statement 3 is not correct. Only 2 are correct. A gradual transition zone between a grassland and a forest where both herbivores and browsing animals are commonly found. So 3 things are given and question is asking about ecotones. इनमें से कौन से ecotones हैं? So transition zone between grassland and forest. So statement 1 is an example of ecotone. Mangrove belt between a saline sea and freshwater river supporting species and both ecosystems. यहाँ भी both. Ecotone is somewhere where 2 different kind of ecosystems are getting merged. A sharp cliff face separating a mountain forest from a grassland with very limited mixing. Limited mixing है means ecotone का सबसे basic feature of ecotone is mixing of species, but here it is limited mixing, so this is not a feature of ecotone. Only 1 and 2, only 2 are correct examples of ecotone. So this question was regarding examples of ecotone. Agroecosystems. Usually monocultures that rely heavily on external inputs like fertilization and irrigation. Yes, agroecosystems का ये correct definition. Biodiversity is generally lower. Yes, because agroecosystems are generally monocropping systems. So biodiversity is generally lower. This is correct. Nutrient cycling in these ecosystems tend to be incomplete, resulting in dependency on artificial replacement. Yes. Artificial replacement, all the three are correct. Option D is the correct answer. Habitat. Habitat के बारे में question. An ecosystem may comprise multiple distinct habitats within it. Yes, true. No natural habitat on Earth supports the existence of only a single species. Yes. ऐसा कोई नेचुरल हैबिटेट नहीं हो सकता वेयर ओनली वन स्पीशीज इज गेटिंग सर्वाइविंग, बिकॉज दैट स्पीशीज हैज टू हैव सर्वाइव, हैज टू हैव इंटरेक्ट विद अदर स्पीशीज. ऐसा कोई हैबिटेट नहीं हो सकता वेयर देयर इज ओनली वन स्पीशीज, बिकॉज कैसे, व्हाट विल दैट स्पीशीज विल ईट, हाउ विल इट सर्वाइव. सो दिस स्टेटमेंट इज correct. There will always be more than one species in a particular habitat. So both these statements are correct. Nitrogen cycle. We just learnt about biogeochemical cycles in which we discussed nitrogen, carbon, phosphorus, sulfur cycles. So the question is regarding nitrogen cycle. So how many are correct regarding nitrogen cycle? Cannot be directly utilized as a nutrient by plants. Yes, nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen cannot be directly utilized. Different kinds of microorganisms are needed for that. Ammonia can serve as a direct source of nitrogen for certain plant species. Correct. In the process of ammonification, nitrates present in soil are reduced to nitrous oxide gases. Okay, so two terms. One is ammonification. Second one is denitrification. Denitrification. So the third statement, nitrates present in the soil are reduced to nitrous oxide gas, that is an example of denitrification, not ammonification. So third one is not correct. Only two are correct. Option B. Marine species. So this is correct regarding seagrasses. The question is about seagrasses. 4 features are given over here and you need to identify ki out of those 4 features which are correct regarding seagrasses. So seagrasses, flowering plants that produce seeds, yes, correct. Lack roots and float freely on water surface, found in region. So the seagrasses do not lack roots. It is saying lack roots. This is not a correct feature of seagrasses. Found in regions ranging from tropics. Yes, seagrasses are found everywhere. Capable of sexual reproduction. Yes, this is also correct. So 3 are correct. So only 3. Option C is the correct answer. Okay, so here 4 species are arranged in different sequence and the question is asking which of the above can correctly represent, ऐसा कौन सा है which correctly represent the sequence of organisms in different trophic levels of food chain. 4 species are here: zooplankton, phytoplankton, small fish and pelican. Question is asking you to identify which among these 4 is the correct representation. So if you look at it, phytoplankton are eaten by zooplankton, zooplankton are eaten by a small fish and a small fish is eaten by pelican. So 2 will be the correct representation. Zooplankton, this should be reversed. Phytoplankton eats zooplankton, this is not correct. Phytoplankton, zooplankton is coming in last, this is also not correct. Pelican should come at the end because pelican is a kind of bird. So only 2 is the correct sequence. Autogenic and allogenic succession. Autogenic and allogenic succession. So 4 statements are given over here and the question is asking you to correctly differentiate. So autogenic succession is driven by changes brought about by the organisms themselves. Yes, this is autogenic, correct one. Allogenic succession is always faster, not necessarily always faster. So statement 2 is not correct. In autogenic succession, the environment is modified due to biotic activities. Yes, ऑटोजेनिक में बायोटिक एक्टिविटीज से मॉडिफाई होते हैं, एलोजेनिक में एबायोटिक फैक्टर्स से. एलोजेनिक सक्सेशन लीड्स टू अ क्लाइमैक्स कम्युनिटी. No, not necessarily true. So only 1 and 3 will be the correct answer. Option A is your correct answer. Detritus food chain. It begins with dead organic matter such as leaf litter and animal remains. Yes. Question is asking about these are detritus. Question is asking which one is not correct. Okay, so it begins with dead organic matter such as leaf litter and animal remains, involves decomposers and retrievers as major energy processors. Correct. Operates independently and has no link with the grazing food chain. It plays a major role in the recycling of nutrients in ecosystems. Okay, so how many? This is correct. Operates independently. No, it is not operating independently. So one statement is not correct. Option A will be your correct answer. The question is talking about not correct. Parasitism. Parasites are usually host specific. Very much true. Host specific evolve a special adaptation to survive within on their host. Yes, this statement is correct. Parasites are always kill. No, they do not always kill. Not always kill. So statement 2 is not correct. Question is asking about not correct. So only 2. Option B is your correct answer. Pyramid of numbers. In a grassland ecosystem, pyramid of number is generally upright. Yes. Grassland ecosystem में pyramid of numbers will generally be upright. In a forest ecosystem, the pyramid of numbers may be inverted. Yes, correct. The pyramid ignores biomass and size of organisms at each trophic levels. Yes. जब pyramid of number की बात हो रही है, then obviously it will ignore the biomass. So all the 3 are correct. 1, 2 and 3. Option D is your correct answer. Nitrogen fixation. So some bacteria can fix nitrogen from the air even in the presence of an oxygen. Okay, 4 statements are given related to nitrogen fixation and the question is asking you to identify the correct ones. So nitrogen fixation, some bacteria can fix nitrogen. Yes, bacteria do fix nitrogen. Statement 1 is correct. The process of nitrogen fixation happens only in root nodules. No, not necessarily always only in root nodules. Not correct. Natural events like lightning can help nitrogen fixation. Yes. Human-made nitrogen fertilizers contribute less nitrogen to the soil than natural process. This is not correct because human-made nitrogen fertilizers are actually used to improve the nitrogen content. So it is saying less. That makes this statement not correct. So only 1 and 3 are correct statements. Functions of rainforest and their ecological significance. So here pairs are given and it is asking you to identify the correct pair. So match the pair. So climate regulation, carbon sink, actually very good terms are given over here. Biodiversity reservoir. What is climate regulation? So climate regulation, carbon sink, here it is saying maintain atmospheric moisture and regional rainfall patterns. Rainfall, moisture. So it is related to water cycle contribution. Absorbs greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. So this is related to carbon sink. Moderates global temperature through carbon storage, climate regulation. Supports the survival of millions of plants and animal species. D4. To A3, B2, C1. A3, B2, C1, D4. Option A is your correct answer. Again a question on seral community. intermediate stage. We just learned several stages are transitional intermediate stages in the process of ecological succession, which is gradually replaced by another community. This statement is correct. In the case of primary succession, lichens and mosses often act as the pioneer species. This also is correct. Question is asking about which of these statements are not correct. So both are correct, so neither 1 nor 2 will be your correct answer. Taiga biome. A while ago we learnt about tundra biome. This statement is about taiga biome. So represent forest regions located in cold. Yes, forest regions in cold and subarctic climatic zones. The soil found in taiga biome is typically rich in nutrients. No, not rich in nutrients. They are poor in nutrients. Coniferous trees form the dominant vegetation in this biome. Yes, true. 1 and 3 both are correct. 4 different kind of aquatic organisms are given and their ecological roles are to be matched with. So phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are microscopic plants that form the basis of aquatic food chain. A2. Zooplankton are freely swimming animals and fish and squid. Zooplankton are microscopic animals that feed on phytoplankton. Nekton and benthos. Nekton is freely swimming animals, fish and squid. This is nekton. And benthos are bottom dwelling animals. So A2, B4, C3. A2, B4, C3 and D1. Option A is the correct answer. Very good, very excellent term. Winter kill. You might have missed this term in your while studying your ecology and environment subject. Winter kill. What is winter kill? Occurs when the surface of water body freezes for extended periods, reducing light penetration. This is a very good definition of winter kill. Shallow and nutrient-rich lakes are more prone to winter kill due to faster oxygen depletion. Yes, nutrient-rich lakes are more prone. So both these statements are correct. Eutrophication. Very general term. UPSC has asked several times question on this term. Eutrophication leads to increased algal growth, which eventually reduces dissolved oxygen in water. Yes, eutrophication leads increased algal growth. This is correct. Eutrophication improves water quality in the long term by enhancing primary. No, eutrophication does not improve water quality. It deteriorates water quality. Statement 2 is not correct. Question is asking to identify you not correct statements. So statement option B 2 only will be your answer. Podzoles. Question on podzoles. So typically found in regions with high rainfall and cold temperatures. Statement 1 is correct. Naturally fertile. Podzoles are not naturally fertile. Statement 2 is not correct. Often show a distinct grey or ash colored layer. Statement 3 is correct. 1 and 3 option A is your correct answer. Rate of photosynthesis. Factors affecting rate of photosynthesis. What are the factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis? So 3 statements are given over here and we need to tackle each and every statement one by one. When light is abundant, carbon dioxide becomes the primary limiting factor for photosynthesis. Yes, carbon dioxide is very much important for photosynthesis. So, well, even if light is abundant, carbon dioxide becomes limiting factor. Very high temperatures can reduce the rate of photosynthesis even if light and carbon dioxide are not limiting. Very high temperatures can reduce the rate of photosynthesis even if light and carbon dioxide are not limiting. Water is never a direct limiting factor for photosynthesis because it is used in very small quantities. Water is never a direct limiting factor. Water is a limiting factor for photosynthesis because without water, how can you say that photosynthesis will happen? Statement 3 is not correct. 2 is correct. So 1 and 2 are correct. 1 and 2 are correct. Dieback. One question on dieback. Very good term. Dieback refers to progressive death of shoots or branches in plants. Statement 1 is correct. Dieback can be an indicator of environmental stress. Yes, this is an indicator of environmental stress. So both these statements are correct. Biological oxygen demand. Very good term. क्या होता है biological oxygen demand? Is a measure of the amount of oxygen required by aerobic microorganisms to break down organic matter in water. Amount of oxygen. Okay. Statement 1 is correct. Lower BOD value indicates poor water quality. Lower BOD indicates poor water quality? No. Lower BOD indicates good water quality. Sewage discharge into rivers increases the BOD of water bodies. Third is also correct. So only 2 are correct. This one is correct. This statement is not correct because lower BOD value indicates good water quality, not poor water quality. So 1 and 3 are correct. 2 statements are correct. Human-induced methane emissions. Livestock farming is a major source of methane emission. Yes, livestock farming is a major source. Landfills emit methane. Yes. Rice cultivation emits little or no methane. You should read each and every statement very carefully. Rice cultivation emits little or no methane. That makes this statement not correct. 1 and 2 are correct. Question is asking about not correct. So option C, 3 only is your answer. Grazing food chain. Begins with green plants that are consumed directly by herbivores. Yes. It contributes more to energy flow in terrestrial ecosystems than the detritus food chain. No. Not correct, because sometimes in several cases energy flow में contribution detritus food chain का ज़्यादा होता है rather than terrestrial one. So unlike the detritus food chain, the grazing food chain operates independently of dead organic matter. Yes, independently of detritus food chain. So options B, 1 and 3 will be your correct answer. Question is regarding decomposition. Warm and moist conditions accelerate the rate of decomposition by promoting okay. So certain conditions are given and the question is asking you to identify which one is correct regarding decomposition. Warm and moist conditions accelerate the rate of decomposition. Yes. The more a condition, more a environment, more a land, a place is warm and moist, the greater will be the decomposition rate. So 1 is correct. The rate of decomposition is slower for lignin-rich substances like wood. Yes, this is also correct. Compared to, okay, this statement is correct. Third one, leaching is the final step. No, leaching is not the final step, and humus is not converted into inorganic nutrients under leaching. Statement 3 is not correct. Only 1 and 2 are correct. Option A is your answer. Producers and consumers. So producers are autotrophs, but not all autotrophs contribute to net primary productivity. Correct. Consumers can be both herbivores and carnivores, but only herbivores occupy the second trophic level. Yes. Fungi are mostly classified as consumers because they break down organic material and absorb nutrient from it. No, this is not correct because fungi are not classified as consumers. They are like heterotrophs. So 1 and 2 are correct. Environmental pollutants. Biomagnification. Progressive increase means the pollutant content is increasing, magnifying. That is called biomagnification. Heavy, okay, 3 statements are given and question is asking how many are correct. So first one is correct. Heavy metals like mercury and persistent pesticides like DDT are commonly associated with biomagnification. Yes, this one is also correct. Water soluble pollutants are more likely to biomagnify. No. If a pollutant is water soluble, it will get excreted. If a pollutant is water soluble, with the time it will get excreted from the body. So it is not that water soluble pollutants are more likely to biomagnify. Water soluble pollutants are less likely to magnify. So statement 3 is not correct. Only 2 are correct. Nutrient cycle and their primary reservoir. Carbon cycle, atmosphere, nitrogen cycle, rock and soil, phosphorus, ocean sediments, sulfur cycle, lithosphere and volcanoes. So how many are correctly matched? Phosphorus, rock and soil, one is an nitrogen, so not rock and soil. So 2 are not correct. Carbon cycle is from atmosphere, correct. Sulfur, lithosphere and volcanoes, okay. So only 2 are not correctly, only 2 are correctly matched. Microbe and type of nitrogen fixation. Rhizobium is free living. No, rhizobium is not free living. Rhizobium have a symbiotic relationship, symbiotic association with root nodules. So rhizobium, this is not correctly matched. Azobacter, symbiotic with legumes. This is actually related to rhizobium. Azobacter is free living in soil. This is not correct. Azobacter symbiotic with legumes. This is not correct. Anabaena free living in aquatic environments. This is also not correct. Anabaena is free living in soil. Azobacter is free living in aquatic environments. Pairs are correctly matched. None of the pairs are correctly matched. Methane hydrates. Methane hydrates, it has been in news as well in recent times. So are ice-like crystalline substances where methane is trapped within water molecules? Correct. Methane hydrates are considered a climate risk. Yes, they are considered a climate risk due to the possibility of methane release from warming oceans. Yes, if we try to extract methane from the methane hydrates, there are chances, there are risks that methane will get released out in our environment, leading to warming of oceans. So this is are correct, both are correct. Migration of birds. This question is regarding again adaptation. Migration of birds to warmer regions during winter is an example of behavioral adaptation. Yes, behavioral adaptations are physiological changes in an organism. Behavior and physiological changes both are different. Physiological changes are different, behavior means are different. So statement 2 is not correct, statement 1 is correct, option C is your correct answer. Biosphere includes all parts of the earth where life exists, including land, water. Yes, this statement is correct. Life is possible in these regions because they provide essential conditions such as suitable temperature, water availability. Yes, this statement is also correct. Statement 1 is giving you is talking about biosphere, and the statement 2 is explaining why life exists in biosphere. So statement 2 is the correct explanation of a statement 1. Oligotrophic lakes. Oligotrophic lakes, low nutrient availability. Yes, low nutrient availability, correct feature of oligotrophic lakes. High productivity and dense algal blooms. Algal blooms are not that much available in oligotrophic lakes because oligotrophic lakes are considered to be having pure water, clean water. So statement 2 is not the correct feature of oligotrophic lakes. Clear water with low organic matter accumulation, correct. Support for species adapted to cold and oxygen rich waters, this is also correct. So correct will be 1, 3 and 4. Biopiracy. The first statement is actually a definition. The term refers to the use of biological resources or traditional knowledge without authorization. Correct. Biopiracy. Piracy. What is the literal meaning of piracy? You are copying some resource, some product without the authorization of the original author, original producer. That is called piracy. कोई बुक है, बुक को आपने फोटोकॉपी करके पढ़ लिया, दैट इज कॉल्ड पायरेसी. व्हाट इज बायोपायरेसी? बायोपायरेसी इज अगर कोई रिसोर्स बायोलॉजिकल रिसोर्स है, if a resource is biological and that resource is you are using it without the authorization of the concerned person, people, authority, then that is called biopiracy. India's TKDL, Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, actually an attempt to prevent biopiracy. So statement 2 is also correct. Both are correct. Okay, 4 statements are given and it is asking you to identify the allopatric. Allopatric, remember allopatric means where geographical isolation is involved in a speciation. Whenever a geographic isolation is leading, geographical factor is leading to a speciation, that will be called allopatric. So it refers to the emergence of new species through genetic changes within a single ancestral population over time. No, this can be an speciation but not allopatric. It takes place where a small segment of population breaks away from the main group. Geographical feature is not mentioned over here, so this is also not a feature. It arises when a population becomes geographically divided. Yes, so this is the correct answer. Geographically divided अगर कोई population हो गया and getting forming as an isolated groups, that leads to formation of new species and that is called allopatric. So option C will be your correct answer. Archaebacteria and eubacteria. So can live in very hot. Archaeobacteria can live in very hot, yes, and salty or acidic extreme environment वाले situations में archaeobacteria can live. Eubacteria includes common bacteria like those found in curd, soil and human gut. Both these statements are correct. Natural selection. Natural selection favors traits that help organisms survive and reproduce better in their environment. All changes in organisms caused by natural selection are visible only in their physical appearance. Okay, so natural selection favors, statement 1 is correct. Natural selection does not mean only visible in physical appearance. Statement 2 is not correct. Natural selection can lead to the formation of new species. Yes, 3 is correct. 1 and 3 will be your correct answer. Question regarding plant succession. 3 statements are given and asking you to identify the correct ones. Xerac succession begins dry and bare habitats like deserts. Yes, correct. Hydrarch, so related to water. Waterlogged, okay, this is also correct. Both successions eventually lead to the same type of climax community. Yes, both eventually lead to same type of climax communities. So all the 3 are correct. Option D is your correct answer. Conformers. Very good term introduced over here is conformers in ecology. So here we will. Conformers are organisms that cannot maintain a constant temperature. This statement is correct. So conformers are organisms that cannot maintain a constant internal environment. Most animals are conformers because maintaining internal stability requires constant energy input. Both statements are correct. But question is asking about not correct. So option D will be your correct answer. No 2 species occupying the same habitat can share an identical ecological niche. Yes. Same ecological niche cannot be shared. Statement 1 is correct. An ecocline, very good term. Ecocline is a gradual transition between a different ecological communities. Yes, ecocline is about transition of communities. An ecotype refers to a genetically distinct population adapted to a specific local environment. All the 3 are correct. Wetlands. Wetlands help in filtering harmful wastes. Yes, correct. Play a vital role in recharging groundwater levels. Wetlands contribute to the recycling of nutrients and act as a natural buffer. All four are correct statements regarding wetlands. Ecosystem productivity. Question is regarding ecosystem productivity. Primary productivity, gross primary productivity refers to the total rate. So gross, net, and the statement is asking you to identify the correct ones. So gross primary productivity refers to the total rate at which, yes, this is gross one. Net primary productivity will always be lower, yes. Just by reading the word always, you should not mark it as incorrect. Sometimes always words can make a statement correct. So net primary productivity is always lower than gross. This is also correct. The level of primary productivity in an ecosystem is influenced by the types of plant species present in that region. Yes, primary productivity will depend on the types of species. So all the three statements are correct. Aquatic ecosystems. So aquatic ecosystems means related to water. Ecosystems dependent on water body. Both photosynthesis and respiration activities take place in aquatic zone. The limnatic zone is dominated by both phytoplankton and zooplankton. Newton are organisms which live at the air-water intersurface. So only two statements are correct. Only two are correct. So both photosynthesis and respiration activities take place in aquatic zone. Three kinds of zones are being written over here: aquatic, limnatic, and another one is this one is Newton kind of organisms. So only two statements are correct. Seagrasses. While seagrasses are considered vascular plants which have roots, stems and leaves, seaweeds have little or no vascular tissues. Statement 1 is correct. So the question is about seaweeds and seagrasses. First statement is correctly giving a difference between seagrasses and seaweeds. While seagrasses reproduce through production of spores, seaweeds reproduce sexually through flowers. These two are actually interchanged. Seaweeds reproduce through production of spores and seagrass reproduce sexually. So statement 2 is not correct. Only one will be your correct statement. Again, one more question regarding seagrasses. Which of the following best explains why seagrass ecosystems are considered critical? Three features are given over here. Seagrasses are often overlooked in marine conservation, yet they play a vital ecological role. Which of the following best explains why seagrass ecosystem are considered critical? What is the importance of seagrass ecosystem? This is the question is asking. They help in preventing coastal erosion. True. They act as significant carbon sinks. True. They act as breeding and nursery grounds. Yes, this is also true. They compete with corals and often lead to the decline. See, seagrass and corals do interact with each other, but saying that seagrasses often lead to the decline of coral, this is not correct. On rare occasions, there may be that due to competition, seagrasses may be leading to the decline, but they often lead to decline. This is not correct. So statement 4 is not correct. Only 1, 2, 3, only 3. Option A will be your correct answer. Consequences of large-scale destruction of tropical rainforest. What will be the consequences? So 4 consequences are given. You need to identify which one is the most likely consequence of destruction of rainforest. It may reduce the Earth's capacity to regulate carbon dioxide. Yes, correct. It can disturb the regional water cycle and lead to reduced rainfall. Yes, it leads to increased soil fertility. It cannot lead to increased soil fertility. It can cause irreversible loss to species. Yes, this is correct. 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Option B, 1, 2 and 4 will be your correct answer. Zooxanthellae. Question regarding zooxanthellae. So how many are the correct features, about how many are the correct statements of zooxanthellae? Photosynthetic algae. Yes, this is correct. They are photosynthetic algae. So zooxanthellae are a kind of algae that do photosynthetic activity, and they live in symbiotic association with coral polyps. So corals के साथ zooxanthellae का symbiotic association भी है, and corals के and zooxanthellae do are algae which do photosynthetic activity. So this statement is very good statement defining zooxanthellae. They provide energy to corals through photosynthesis, aiding in reef building process. Symbiotic relationship है, both are associated. Zooxanthellae and corals both are associated. So statement 2 is correct. Coral bleaching occurs when zooxanthellae multiply uncontrollably. No. Coral bleaching occurs when zooxanthellae are getting lost, not multiplying. So third one is not correct. 1 and 2 will be correct, option A. We learned about tundra, we learned about taiga. Now another biome, it is desert biome. Desert biomes are always hot and dry with high daytime temperatures and very low annual precipitation. Not always hot and dry. There can be a desert biome which is in cold areas, not necessarily always hot and dry. Statement 1 is not correct. Plants in desert ecosystems often exhibit features such as deep root systems, waxy coatings. Yes, desert biome में plants do exhibit these features like deep root to extract water from beneath earth, waxy coatings, and reduced leaf surface area to minimize water loss. So only one question is asking about not correct. So only one is not correct. Primary productivity. Which of the following factors influence primary productivity? The type of plant species present in a given area. This affects primary productivity. Yes. The availability of essential nutrients. This also affects primary productivity. Photosynthetic efficiency of the plants. This also affects primary productivity. All three are correct. This question is regarding fungi. Features of fungi, you can say. Fungi are heterotrophic organisms that depend on others for their food. Yes, they are heterotrophic. One is correct. All fungi exhibit a multicellular body. Not all fungi exhibit multicellular body. There can be fungi which are unicellular, like yeast. So statement 1 is not correct. The cell walls of fungi are made up of chitin and polysaccharides. Correct. Certain antibiotics such as penicillin are derived from fungi. Yes, correct. Question is asking about not correct statements. So only one is not correct. Option A. Defensive adaptations. Defensive adaptations developed by plants to protect themselves from herbivores. So 4 are given. And what are defensive adaptations? Some plants possess fine hairs on the surface. This is certainly a defensive adaptation. Certain plants release chemical substances. This is also defensive adaptation. Presence of structural features like thorns. Here it is hair, it is thorns, kaate lage hain. That is also kind of defensive adaptation. So all three are correct features. 1, 2 and 3 will be your correct answer. Question is regarding pesticides. A pesticide refers to a biological or chemical substance that targets and eliminates only plant pest, not necessarily only plant pest, other pests as well. Statement 1 is not correct. Continuous and excessive use of chemical pesticides can result in the phenomenon of biomagnification. Yes, statement 2 is correct. Continuous and excessive use of chemical fertilizers can actually lead to biomagnification. It is very harmful. So statement 2 is correct. Option B is your correct answer. So this question is regarding adaptation and acclimatization. Adaptation and other one is acclimatization. Adaptation is a kind of permanent change so that you are getting used to your environment. Acclimatization is a type of temporary change. So, and that temporary change reverses back when you are moving back to your natural environment. Adaptation refers to a temporary and reversible physiological, so it is just changing. Question is asking about correct statement, so this is just changing. Adaptation refers to temporary. No, adaptation is permanent. So statement 1 is not correct. Acclimatization is a permanent long term. Permanent long term is adaptation. Acclimatization is temporary one. So statement 1 is not correct. The increase in the red blood cell count observed in humans who move to high altitudes is an example of adaptation. This is an example of acclimatization because they are moving temporarily to high altitude areas and the red blood cell count is increasing. The moment they are coming back to their low altitude natural areas, their blood count will come back to normal. So RBC cells, red blood cells के count का जो temporary change हो रहा है, that is example of acclimatization. Question is asking about correct statements, or both are not correct. Here onwards, we will be handling current affairs related questions. Bhashini is an AI-based platform. Yes, Bhashini is an AI-based enabling translation between Indian languages. Correct. It is implemented by Ministry of Electronics. Yes, correct. It is designed to promote the use of only scheduled languages in official communication. No. It is not only for scheduled languages. Statement 3 is not correct. So Bhashini is an AI-based platform launched by Ministry of Electronics, enabling translation between Indian languages, not necessarily scheduled languages. So only 1 and 2 will be your correct answer. Rice yellow mottle virus. It has been in news in recent times, and this is like primarily found in Africa. Yes, this is correct. It spreads through insect vectors, mechanical contact, farming practice like synchronized planting and crop residue removal help control this. Yes, all the 3 statements are correct. So the correct answer will be option D. DNA profiling. DNA profiling has been in news very recently because of the Air India plane crash which occurred in Ahmedabad. In that plane crash, the victims were getting identified using the DNA profiling. So DNA profiling can uniquely identify an individual. Yes, that is the actual purpose of DNA profiling. It is commonly used in disaster victim identification, paternity disputes and criminal investigations. This is also correct. The technique requires a full blood sample, not necessarily full blood samples. So DNA profiling, DNA matching can also be done using taking up your hair. So it is not necessarily always full blood samples are required. Statement 3 is not correct. Only 1 and 2 are correct. India Cyprus. Recently Prime Minister visited Cyprus. Cyprus is strategically located in Eastern Mediterranean and has supported India's position on Jammu and Kashmir at international forums. Yes, Cyprus. During the visit, both countries agreed to deepen cooperation in maritime security and signed defense. No defense frame agreement was signed as such. Though discussions are undergoing, but it is not yet signed. So statement 2 is not correct. Cyprus is a member of both EU and NATO. Cyprus is a member of European Union. That is true. But Cyprus is not a member of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So statement 3 is also not correct. Only 1 is correct. Despite being geographically close to North America, Greenland does not have a representation to the Arctic Council. Greenland is a country near Arctic, near North America. So despite being geographically close, this is close to North America, but does not have a representation in Arctic Council. This statement is not correct. Greenland does have a representation in Arctic Council. Although geographically part of North America, Greenland is politically linked to a European nation. Yes, Greenland is politically linked to European nation. The country called Denmark, claims sovereignty over Greenland, and Greenland is a kind of autonomous region of Denmark. So statement 2 is correct. So statement 1 is not correct, 2 is correct, option D is your correct answer. India's trade deficit narrowed recently. In this context, consider the following statements regarding trade and current account balances. So this question is trying to test your knowledge level regarding trade and current account balances. So 3 are given and question is asking to identify correct one. A fall in imports directly leads to a current account surplus. Fall in imports directly. A fall in import cannot directly lead to current account surplus. There are other factors involved. So it is not always directly leading to current account surplus. So statement 1 is not correct. A country can have a trade deficit and still have a surplus in its current account. Yes, this is a very good example in India. India can have a trade deficit but current account surplus in India mein. So statement 2 is correct. Net inflows from services, remittances and investment income are part of capital account. Read each and every statement very carefully. Here it is saying capital account. Very basic awareness level is required over here. These services, remittances, investment are part of current account, not capital account. So statement 3 is also not correct. So only correct statements, only option B is the correct statement. Financial Action Task Force, FATF related question, is a treaty-based organization under the United Nations Security Council. No, the FATF is not under UNSC. FATF UNSC के अंदर नहीं आता. Being placed on the FATF grey list may result in increased scrutiny of a country's financial transactions. Yes, this is correct. This has been news because Pakistan few years ago was put under FATF grey list. FATF's recommendations are legally binding. No, they are not legally binding. Statement 3 is also not correct. Not correct. Question is asking about not correct. So 1 and 3 are not correct. Shipkila Pass, located in Himachal Pradesh. Shipkila is a mountain pass located in the Satluj River Valley. This is true. It lies south of Nathula Pass and connects Uttarakhand with Nepal. No, it is related to Himachal Pradesh, not Uttarakhand. So 2 is not correct. Only 1 is the correct answer. Rate cut. This statement about monetary transmission. What is monetary transmission? So suppose Reserve Bank of India is cutting the repo rate or reverse repo rate. So the purpose is to affect the liquidity in the banking system, in the market. So if Reserve Bank of India is reducing the interest rate, so the Reserve Bank expects that the banks, the other commercial banks like State Bank, Punjab National Bank or the private banks will also reduce the interest rate so that the lending or borrowing becomes easier and cheaper for the consumers. So this is monetary transmission. Transmission of policy from RBI to banks to populace, common people. So this is the transmission. This is transmission of monetary policy. It refers to the process through which changes in the central bank's policy rates influence interest rates in the broader economy. This is true. This is what is actually monetary transmission. A weak transmission mechanism may result in policy rate cuts by RBI, not effectively translating into a lower borrowing cost. A weak transmission means whatever policies RBI incorporating or trying to implement, it is not getting transmitted properly, not effectively translating into lower borrowing cost. Yes, this is also correct. Transmission is always immediate. It is not always immediate. It comes with a lag. It is not that today RBI reduced the interest rate, so from tomorrow or within 2 hours the borrowing for consumers will become cheaper. So it is not always immediate. This is not correct. Only two are correct. Human wildlife conflict. Use of crops like turmeric along forest edges is an example of buffer cropping that can help create ecological barriers between wildlife habitat. Yes, this is correct. This has been in news very recently because some villagers have started planting turmeric along the edges of their cropland or near the forest area, and because of the turmeric, the wildlife like elephants are avoiding to come inside their forest in their croplands. So this has been in news very recently. Statement 1 is correct. Agroecological methods. Agroecological methods like the methods using agricultural stuffs. So methods to mitigate human wildlife conflict are less effective than electric fencing. No, it is not less effective. It is highly effective. So saying that, giving a sweeping statement that agroecological methods are less effective. So this is not correct. Correct statement will be statement 1 only, option A. Treaty on eternal good neighborliness, friendship and cooperation. Treaty was signed by China and all 5 Central Asian republics to deepen regional cooperation. Correct. The treaty obligates member countries, no, to adopt a common currency. ऐसी कोई बात हुई नहीं है. Recently, China and Central Asian countries have held a very good summit. In that summit, the outcome of that summit was this treaty on eternal good neighborliness, friendship and cooperation. But this treaty does not the outcome of this treaty was not to obligating member countries to adopt a common currency. So this statement is not correct. Only A, only option 1, only statement 1 is the correct answer. Operation Sindhu, Ganga and Kaveri. Operation Sindhu was in news related to Iran. Operation Ganga related to Ukraine. All these 3 operations are regarding evacuation of Indian citizens from the war or strife-torn countries or regions. Operation Sindhu led to evacuation of Indians from Iran very recently. Operation Ganga, evacuation of Indians from Ukraine. Operation Kaveri was Sudan, not Yemen. So statement 3 is not correctly matched. Only question is asking about not correct. Only one. Prime Minister visited Canada. In this context, the two countries means India and Canada finalized and signed EPTA. No, they did not finalize, they did not sign. This was India's first participation in a G7 summit hosted by Canada. Yes, this was first. So India had participated earlier in G7 summits as a guest, you can say, but G7 summit hosted by Canada and also participated by India. This was the first summit which recently was hosted by Canada. So statement 2 is correct. Question is asking about not correct. So only one is the correct answer. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. The question is regarding Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Includes components such as beneficiary-led construction and affordable housing in partnership. Yes, BLC and AHP are two components of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Statement 1 is correct. Central assistance under this can be up to 2.5 lakh per eligible. Yes, this figure you should remember. The scheme mandates that all approved houses be occupied by at least one female members. This is not a necessary condition. It is saying that occupied by at least. कोई जरूरी नहीं. It is not necessary that a house under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana should be occupied by at least one female. There can be houses where no females are residing. So statement 3 is not correct. So only 1 and 2 are correct. पर्पस ऑफ फास्टैग, फास्टैग आपने जरूर सुना होगा। जीपीएस बेस्ड व्हीकल ट्रैकिंग सिस्टम, जीपीएस बेस्ड व्हीकल ट्रैकिंग सिस्टम, नो दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट। कॉन्टैक्टलेस पेमेंट सिस्टम, फास्टैग is a payment system, this is also contactless but used for booking railway tickets, this is not correct. So till here it could be correct that it is a contactless payment system. Fastag is actually a contactless payment system, but it is not for booking railway tickets. It is a system using RFID technology to enable cashless toll payments. This statement is correct. So option C will be your correct answer. Performance Grading Index Report 2023-24. Consider the following statements. 3 statements are given. Question is asking you to identify the correct statements. The PGI 2.0 is an initiative of Ministry of Education. Yes, this is correct. In the latest PGI report, Chandigarh is the only state to be placed in Utkarsh category. No, Chandigarh is not placed in Utkarsh category. It is placed in Prachest category. So statement 2 is not correct. The PGI framework evaluates states based solely on learning outcomes, not solely on learning outcomes. There are other parameters as well, such as teachers, infrastructure, so not solely on learning outcomes. 3 is also not correct. So only one only is the correct answer. Okay, these are the places in news from the Middle East region. Natanz is a major Iranian nuclear facility. This is correct. Bandar Abbas, Iranian port. Bandar Abbas is an Iranian port city on the Caspian Sea. This is not correct. It is not on Caspian Sea. So this is not correct. Golan Heights, region bordering both Syria and Israel. Golan Heights has earlier been asked in UPSC. Strait of Hormuz, narrow sea passage between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. So 1, 3 and 4 are correct. 1 is not correct. 1, 3 and 4 are correct. Indus Valley script. Indus Valley script. Recently, Archaeological Survey of India announced an international conference on this script. So features of Indus Valley script. Indus script comprises mostly pictographic symbols. Yes, Indus script pictographic symbols hai usme, and has not yet been conclusively deciphered. This statement is correct. Indus Valley scripts, they are like pictographic symbols but are yet to be deciphered. हमें अभी तक पता नहीं चला कि उसमें लिखी हुई बातें क्या है. What are those stuffs? What are those pictographic symbols actually mean? So statement 1 is correct. One of the major reasons for the undeciphered status of this script is the lack of bilingual inscriptions. Yes, we don't have any bilingual inscription, जिसकी वजह से we could not understand what are the meaning of those pictographical scripts of Indus Valley civilization. Statement 2 is correct. The longest known inscription in the Indus Valley contains over 100 symbols. This is not correct. Not over 100 symbols, hardly 20-25 symbols. So statement 3 is not correct. 1 and 2 are the correct answer. International Day of Yoga. United Nations declared June 21 is celebrated as International Day of Yoga. Resolution was proposed by India. Yes, correct. The 2025 theme focused on yoga for self and society. No, this is not correct. This was not the theme of 2025 International Yoga Day. Only 1 is the correct answer. Quantum communication. The question is about quantum communication. Relies on the principle of quantum entanglement and superimposition to enable ultra secure data transmission. Yes, this is correct. Unlike conventional communication systems, quantum communication can detect any interception or tampering attempt during data transfer. Yes, this is actually a very good feature of quantum communication, that is very secure. If any interception happens, people will come to know that interception has been happened or data leak has happened. India's first successful demonstration of a quantum communication between ground stations. So Indian researchers are also working, Indian institutions are also working to develop their own quantum system. communication system. So India's first successful demonstration of quantum communication between ground stations, सैटेलाइट एंड ग्राउंड के बीच में तो ठीक है, बट ग्राउंड टू स्टेशंस लोकेटेड ऑन द ग्राउंड, ऐसा क्वांटम कम्युनिकेशन सिस्टम इन इंडिया, सक्सेसफुल टेस्ट over 300 kilometers. This is not correct. Very recently, IIT Delhi and DRDO have conducted a first successful demonstration of between ground stations, but that is hardly 1 kilometer apart. Saying it 300 kilometers apart is a very big thing. This has not been achieved. And this is also saying using ISRO's GSA-28 satellites. So there are inherent contradictions. First one is ground stations and second one is the name of the satellite. So very easily statement 3 can be eliminated. So 1 and 2 are correct. So only 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, so this way we reach the end of this session. So I hope this session was useful to you. You can join our respective social media channels for more updates and keep visiting our website as well. I hope this video was useful. We will meet soon in our next discussion video. Till then, take care. All the best.